Okay, so we've learned how to draw these forms: our cone, our sphere, our cylinder, remember, rounded bottom, and our cubes. So with these forms, you can draw anything, which is why we start learning how to draw and shade these forms. So if I wanted to, I could take our cone and I could turn it upside down, draw the round part underneath, and this could easily become the cone of an ice cream. I can take my sphere on top, draw my little details, and then erase this. And because I know where my light hits, so if I have a light source hitting this direction, same here, I know that there's going to be light here, and I know my shadows hit here. So the reason we learn how to draw forms and shapes is because we start to learn where our shadows are forming, and we can learn how to identify and put them together to create different drawings of different objects. We have this light bulb with the fish on the inside, and the first thing you are going to want to do is identify your shapes. And so this back part here, if I follow this around, that is going to be the top part of my cylinder. And then if I follow this, I can see this white line here that's creating our sphere. And then there is another cylinder, or actually it's more like the bottom of a cone that's attaching the sphere to our cylinder here. Okay, so once you know what shapes you have, it's easy to go in. So I'm going to draw this cylinder first. And then I can see that my sphere comes in about halfway of this part. So about halfway. And then I have my lines that kind of connect here. Kinesis. Actually, I should have left part of that here. And then I can draw in my water here. And I can start drawing in my details once I have my shape figured out. And I can start drawing in my details and all my shadows. But being able to identify the forms that we see is what's going to help me draw my objects more accurately. I see we have a sphere here. I see a half sphere. Technically, we could have a whole sphere here, right? And this is kind of hard to see, but this is kind of the shape of the head. To me, looks like a cylinder, but upside down. So I have the flat side here, and here's the bottom of it. Okay. And this part, the mouth, is part of the cylinder, and like the under part of his neck creates the other part of the cylinder. So it's like a cylinder upside down, right? The body is going to be kind of our sphere, and then the legs are going to be really tall cylinders And then the very ends of the fingers are going to be spheres. So I'll have another one here. And I have another one here. Okay. And I'll do just this one leg here. So I'm going to start off what I call drawing like the robot version of it, because it kind of looks like a robot. So if I'm drawing the frog here, I'm actually going to start with this cylinder. So once I have my cylinder, I'm going to go ahead and put in my spheres. So I have my one sphere here. And I have my other sphere about here. I can see that this part of my body, it's touching this part of my cylinder and touching this part of my cylinder. So that's about here, and that's about here. And so I'm going to go ahead, and my body is maybe about that far down. And so I'm putting these little dots here to kind of give me a measurement, a guideline, so I don't make the body too big or too long. So I draw my circle here. And you can see it's kind of looking a little bit like a robot because it's very geometric. And that's what you want to start with. So I'm going to draw in my cylinder here for my leg. And the one finger here. And if you hear my cat meowing, that's Midnight. She's obnoxious. So I'm going to keep drawing the little fingers here. Oops. So I have one of the little hands here. And I know I'm making this look really easy, but once you figure out the shapes, it really is pretty easy to put things together. The hard part is probably what comes next, which is the shading. So there I have the robot version of my frog.